So I should see something telling me I'm streaming, right? Yeah, there we go. It says receiving your content, your audience will see it in a moment. Get ready. Oh, I'm ready. All right. So I think I'm gonna work on this animation because this is a test stream. That's why I'm trying it out on something that if it gets ruined, I don't worry about saving it. So for this mech, I have, let's see, I'm gonna need a driver. So start with figures here. Let's go to files and look through the presets. The smart content in DAZ Studio. I'll start off by saying we're working in DAZ Studio here, and this is the free mech that you can get from my eShop. My website is shop3dfrenzy.com, and the mech comes ready to use in DAZ Studio. It's just as simple as following the instructions in the how-to section on my website. There's full instructions on how to install it and then where to find the content. But basically, basically when you go into DAZ Studio after copying all the files into the My DAZ 3D library directory, once you do that, sorry, I muted it because I had to cough. But once you do that, you can look in products and you'll see under files, transportation, and smart content, you should be able to see your mech here. So there's a bunch of them here because these are the 3 that are available on the website, but this is the free model. And then under products, again, under transportation or transportation land, you're going to see the mechs here listed here. So you click into that product and then you can either load just the mech or you can load the set. And the set has the mech with the cabin already installed, because the cabin and the, let's see, under props here you have the cabin and the cabin hatch details. But you can see those come already loaded if you just load the preset, the scene subset. Alright, anyway, let's go back to the figures in smart content. I normally work with the Genesis 2 figures because that's the one I have the most content for. So I'm going to be using the Genesis 2 figure. And in fact, I have a preset for the Genesis 2 figure to sit him in the cabin. So we'll load the Genesis 2 base mail. Give that a second to load. And what the preset does is it lets me, just by double clicking the preset, it allows me to have the pilot moved into the driver's seat. And then once the pilot's moved into the driver's seat, we can pose him and animate him with the control surfaces. So all of the control surfaces, well, at least the important ones, the joysticks, the joystick controllers, and foot pedals with the foot pedal controllers are all able to be animated and posed. So here you can see if I click on this controller, I can slide it. I guess theoretically you could also twist it if you really wanted to. That's kind of cool. Like that. But what I'm going to do is click on the cabin first. So I have the entire cabin selected. The cabin is itself is a figure. So we can go into edit, figure, and zero the pose, zero figure pose, and that'll reset all the control surfaces. So somewhere in here, I'm going to switch this to, let's see, hidden line. I like to work in hidden line. And somewhere in here is a Genesis 2 male, so he's going to be at the world origin point. and we're going to see about posing him. Another place you can find all the content for this is in the content library. Now you can see I have these set as products, M, and then Mech Factory, whichever mech. Okay, and here is the preset for the Genesis 2 male driver. He's not available in those smart content, but you could also browse to him in your DAZ Studio formats, my DAZ 3D library. Then go down to vehicles. These are stored as vehicles. Then I have my own folder, Mech Factory. Every mech you buy or download from my website will fall in this folder. And then you go to Panther, it's the mech we're working on. And then poses, and there you'll also see the Genesis 2 male driver seat pose. So we're going to double click that. What that does is that moves him into the seat. So you can see he's seated and ready to go. So we'll give him some military dress or pilot suit or something in a second. But having him in the seat, we can make all our poses and adjustments there. So what I think I'll do first is I'm going to go into the scene tab here, and I'm going to parent the figure to the cabin. So I'm just going to drag and drop it. It should parent in place, which it did. So now whatever poses are applied to the mech, of course the cabin will inherit those poses, but then also the Genesis 2 male, he's going to stay seated where he's supposed to be. Otherwise, if you change the pose on the mech, the Genesis 2 male would stay floating in the air like a witch. So if we go into poses here, like for example, we power down. See, he went right along with the mech, still seated. That works well. All right, so let's get him dressed. Let's look at the wardrobe presets that I have. Air Defender set's a good one. I think that's the best choice right now. Yeah. Just clothe him in the Air Defender set. The nice thing about that one is I think it comes with gloves. So we'll give that a minute to load up, and then we'll just do a quick animation of some of the control surfaces and go ahead and animate the figure along with it. If I have time, maybe even put some animations into the mech so that as he's moving the controls, maybe we can make the mech have some movement too. Okay. This is just going to take a minute to load the figure's wardrobe, and then we can move on. I guess that's the challenge with live video, right? Keeping the conversation alive. Which would be an issue if I had any viewers. I don't think anybody's watching. Or listening, you said?
I said I'm listening.
Oh, thank you. Like you're listening on your computer?
Mm-mm.
Oh. Alright, I'm going to switch this back to texture shaded view. So there's the pilot, clothed and ready to go. His hands look like they're in a good position. We should give him some hair. Let's do that. Oh, I'm gonna go with Kung Fu hair. And then we'll start juxtaposing them because I'm going to make some adjustments. It looks like the boots, from what I can see here, are probably sinking into the pedals a little too much. So we'll go ahead and adjust that first. Yeah, switch to the Pose and Animate tab. And then you see you want to make sure we're on frame 1 because frame 1 is going to store all the changes we initially make, and that's important now because what we're really trying to do is set this up. Once we get it set up, then we can switch back to, then we can switch around to the different frames. So I'm going to switch to the Active Pose tool. I actually like that tool a lot. It's very easy to use. So I want to just adjust the foot. I'm going to lock his legs into place by toggling the pins here, and then adjust the foot up a little. Not very responsive. I wonder if it's all the clothing. It might be the strain on the computer from all the streaming and all the clothing in the scene. Let's try this. Let's see. Let's get rid of all of this except the hair. Let's see if that changes anything. So we're in Active Pose. Grab the foot. Yeah, that's definitely what it is. So let's just give him some jogging shorts and call it a day. Let's see. So wardrobe. Let's do these shorts. This should be less intensive as far as the scene's concerned. And we could change them into full military uniform later. I definitely want to have boots on him because I need to line up his feet with the pedals, so I need the boots just to see where everything is supposed to sit, because that'll be harder to adjust afterwards. As long as it doesn't affect the Active Pose tool too much, then we're okay. So let's see how that works. Yeah, that's okay. So we'll go ahead and make these adjustments with the boots on. And give it some rotation. When I have the Active Pose tool selected, I use these dials to make the finer adjustments. That way I don't have to toggle in and out of the Active Pose tool and the universal tool, the universal selector. So that's okay. I think the boots are a bit of a strain too, to be honest. But this is my first test stream, so maybe I can refine it as far as the processes go. There might be settings in the YouTube stream that I can tune down or something. But anyway, that's set up. So our pilot's set up for scene for the first frame. So let's go back to pose and animate. And I'm going to go ahead and unpin all, because I think when you leave those pin and you start messing around with other pose settings like this dial or whatever later in the animation, I think it has some effect on it. I'm not sure, but I think it does. So let's see if we can get just his face and give this guy some emotion. I don't know if I have any emotions to apply to this, so I know there's some that come default with DAZ. The expressions, and those are over here in the parameters. If you go to pose controls, head, and then expressions, I give them a little concentrate maybe, and maybe a little excitement. Too much excitement, a little bit of fear, balance that out. I don't know why excitement brings his jaw open. But I wouldn't mind putting some happy in there. I don't know why it's bogging down so much. Happy has a lot of jaw motion too. I guess concentrate was the best choice. Some big effort. Yeah, that's pretty good. Looks focused. It's focused on piloting his mech. Alright. So let's move forward a few frames and set another keyframe. So let me add some frames to the full animation. I'll set it at 200. And then since it's 30 frames a second, each one of these 30 frame increments is 1 second of real time. So we'll do 2 seconds later. And we'll grab this control surface, go to the universal tool, and let's slide it forward. So then what I would do is I need to pull his arm forward. So I'm going to go back to my active pose tool. Select the Genesis 2 male. I'm actually going to select his chest and pin that in place. And then the active pose tool, sometimes if you start working with it, like if I move this arm, it has a tendency to counterbalance the other arm sometimes. Even if I pin the chest, you can see the other arm is moving, right? So what I tend to do is I take the other arm at the hand and I pin it in place, because I think of it as like IK motions. And I even take this hand and pin it in place. I'll take his head and pin it in place. And then I'll even pin his feet in place. That way I don't get any surprises. And in fact, often I'll pin his hips in place. So now I have basically IK controls on this figure, and he's going to stay pretty much in predictable poses. So I don't have to worry about his hands or his head or his hips wandering around because I'm dragging his thumb around, you know. So we're going to move this up here. Zoom in. Kind of keep up with the controller. And this is just the blocking phase. Later we'll refine all of this. But at least this way you get to see how the controller and the hand movement go together. And I'll definitely look into why this is so unresponsive. It doesn't usually lag like this. So I'm gonna have to think it has something to do with my YouTube settings. Again, I've never actually tried anything like this on YouTube, so it's a first for me. Your patience is appreciated. All right, let's try this. Move it up a little. That's okay. So let's see what that looks like. Oh, I forgot we're in the default camera, so let me switch to perspective view. Play that. You know, it seems like it's the boots. I'm gonna get rid of the boots. See if that helps. Yeah, I suspected the boots. So let's do the same thing on the other side. Except I'm just gonna come a few seconds sooner here and have his other hand arrive a few seconds sooner, or a few frames sooner, just so it doesn't, it looks more realistic, because I don't want both of his hands, I don't want to just mirror this pose over here. Or in fact, I can do that. So I can click on the cabin here at this frame, and I can use the symmetry tool. And let's see, root recursive, I want to swap right to left, or copy right to left. I'll just mirror across the x-axis because we didn't rotate anything. So there we go. But now I can take some of these frames and move them around. Because now he should have both of his arms arriving at the same time. Let me get rid of this aspect frame. His foot moved too. His body kind of shifted. Oh, because his feet weren't lined up in the beginning. So let's undo that. Hold on. Show you how to correct that. What happened was his body wasn't symmetrical to begin with. One of these, the foot is further forward or back than the other one. So what happened was when I mirrored them, it put them all in place. So if I go to undo that symmetry, now at this frame it should only be the hand. Let's see. Right? So now, if if I select the cabin, or actually if I select his arm, and we go forward to frame 60, so it's this arm I want to mirror across this way. Hit Shift Y for the symmetry tool. Then I want to go selected and recursive, right to left, mirror across. There we go. And then I can do the same thing with the cabin. So I have the cabin, which I do want to do the entire. No, let me just do the left controller. It would be the right controller and the right joystick that I have keyframed. So let's get back in position here. So what I want to do is, again, Shift Y for the symmetry tool, selected and recursive, right to left, accept. So that's moved. You can see that hand needs some adjustment. But the important part is we need to make sure that only those keyframes move. So right now I have the mech selected, and I'm going to go to abdomen, torso, cabin, and then let's see, hip. And this is the left controller that we're dealing with. So we want to take this keyframe and move it back some so it'll arrive sooner. Right? And then we'll do the same thing for the Genesis male. But we want everything from this point down to arrive sooner. So with Genesis 2 male, hip, abdomen, abdomen 2, chest. We want to go to the left collar. And everything from here down, we want to happen at this keyframe. I believe. I'm going to double check right now. Here's the cabin. It was actually this keyframe. Let's move those. Now, it should all line up. I mean, you can see his hand needs some adjusting, but the motion should line up. Which it does. All right. So let's adjust this where it ends. It ends right here at this frame. So we want to adjust this hand so it lands correctly. Something more like this. Move it over a little. Maybe even up. Let's take a look at that. So let's see how his movement looks. Yeah, that's pretty good. So there it looks like he has control over the control surfaces, and he's moving the joysticks, and then his hands move along with it. I need to get rid of that keyframe on the camera. It's a little annoying. So that's here. I'll just delete that. Go back here. Hit play. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Alright, so let's add some animation to his feet. Okay. So his feet look pretty high up here, but that's because we had boots on them before, so I want to kind of keep them where they're at. So when I add the boots later, I don't have to do a lot of adjusting. So what I'll do is I'll first animate these. Right now they're at the 0 pose. And let's see. Let's make his feet move a little quicker than his hands. So let's twist this. And let's also kind of carriage it upwards. Like the mech's powering up, so that's where his feet need to end up. And, let's see, let's do the same on this side. Let's kind of twist this. Carriage it upwards. Like that. So we'll have that animation set. So let's take a look at that. In fact, I'm going to make it so it looks like they kind of move upwards and then settle back in. So I have the, let's see, abdomen selected, torso, this is the mech. Here's the left foot controller. And the right controller, here's the right foot controller. So we don't need this right controller. We just need the left foot controller with the left foot pedal and the right foot controller with the right foot pedal. We're going to copy those keyframes, and then about here at about 90 seconds we're going to paste them. So the foot pedal should kind of roll and carriage upwards and then settle back down. Yeah, there we go. It looks like the mech's powering up. So now you just have to key the feet. Again, I'm going to use the active pose tool. I find it easier to use for things like this. So at this keyframe, I'm going to switch to tool settings, active pose. I'm going to grab this foot, bring it up here, and zoom in on that so I can adjust it. And I'm just going to kind of eyeball where his boots would be. Like I said, they were just really dragging the frame rate down, so I removed them, but something like that. So when I add the boots back, then it'll be in the correct place for the most part, maybe some minor adjustments. So let me zoom in on this foot here. So we'll position that one. Give it some roll. Pretend there's a boot sole on there. It's all right. So what we want to do is find the Genesis 2 male hip, pelvis, left thigh, left shin, right shin. Then we have the left foot and the right foot that we just posed. But here, back here at the 90, or what was it, 89 frame mark, when the feet are back into their position, basically we want everything from the left and right thigh downwards to settle back where it was. So that's all of this. I'm going to copy and paste that. So let's take a look at the full animation. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Then of course you'd want to add some blinking, some head movement. We can add some head movement. Let's see where the head is keyed at. So chest, neck, head. So the head is keyed here. It's keyed here and here. Gonna get rid of those keys. Have him turn his head a little. Get rid of the neck keyframes too. I'm gonna turn his neck and his head. So I can turn his neck a little. And his head. He's looking at gauges, double checking, right? And then have him kind of pull his head back here. Maybe even do a quick sweep of his head the other way. So we'll move his neck this way. His head that way. Checking his screens. And then here at the 90-second mark, we'll take these keyframes, copy and paste them. See how that looks. All right, a little bit of a snap there, so we'll take these and move them out. Another second. Take a look at that. That's pretty good. Add some eye blinks, that'd be a decent animation. In fact, in here, when he glances at the other screen, you can change his expression a little. So we'll go to parameters, expressions. We'll get rid of concentrate. And add a little bit of excitement. It should be zeroed out there. It is. Let's take a look at that. Okay. Let's see about the values in here. So if we go to abdomen, torso, cabin, Genesis 2 male, values. I think this is where the expressions would be. Yeah, there they are. They're right here. So which is this? This is excitement. And this one is concentrate. So excitement gets keyed up but doesn't get keyed down. So let's take a look at that. Yeah, it just needs some blinking and some eye movement. The eyes should look first before his head turns. But that's pretty good. I think I'll leave it at that. Let's see, how long have I been streaming? Does this tell me? Oh, I missed you in the chat there, but yeah, thank you, Isam. Yeah, definitely check it out later. Let's see. It doesn't say. Oh yeah, elapsed time, 40 minutes. All right, yeah, I'll be back later with some more. But anyway, this is just from a basic starting position. We can animate some controls. You know, you'd want to animate your camera so you can, I guess, zoom out and then have the mech power up. The mech actually comes with a bunch of preset poses, so it'll be fairly straightforward to power it up. I'll make a video on that too, animating the mech using the preset poses. But just real quickly, we have this power down pose already keyed there, and then the controls basically are all active by 120. So let's say that's when the mech springs to life, right? So what we want to do is, we have the mech selected, we want to hit this button here and add another keyframe for the mech, right? You can get rid of the transform and values because those don't change for the mech. But we've keyed them there, and then like, what, 2 seconds later, we can grab a power up pose. Right? So there the mech powers up. Let's actually get a better view of it. Almost looks like it's breathing. So there you can see how you can quickly animate between poses, and then just do some refinements later. Work through refining the animations. But don't forget, you can get the mech for free at shop3dfrenzy.com, and that way you can take your Genesis 2 or Genesis 3, Genesis 8, whichever figure, right at DAZ Studio and start animating, start posing and animating. Let's see, for the camera here, it looks like I have a keyframe on the camera, so get rid of that. But if we switch to the camera view, it's there. By the 120 mark, we want to be zoomed out, right? There. And then by the end of the video, we want to be fully focused on the mech. And we can take the hatch and we can keyframe it about here. And then about here, we can close the hatch. So there you end up with an animation, something like that. A nice little camera view. Although it does zoom out a little bit far for my taste. I think maybe more like this. And then of course if you render it out, you won't have all the jittering, all the lag. But that gives you an idea. We blocked in the animation 40 minutes, and it's basically the power-up sequence. You could add the clothing to your character, go on from there. Alright, so I'm going to end this here, 45 minutes. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.